Hi everyone, this is Tom with another edition of the LEC Awards. I guess it's a kind of a talk show, and with me here once again to talk about the awards is Bloop, Pablo Suarez, who is a reporter for Esports, who always reports on roster leagues, but you may have also seen him do some transfer articles. For example, recently he had a very good article about the self-made transfer, so definitely check that out. I'll link it in the description below if you want a good read. But Bloop, how are you doing, man? How is the summer split sinking in for you?
Hello. I think really good. Enjoying it a lot, and also this is like a tradition already. It's been
Yes,
like three or four splits, maybe something like
third
that.
split
Three.
now. Yes, three in
I
a row
think it's the
now.
third split. Yeah. So pretty cool to be again with you. Doing the awards.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about these ones. I think, especially because the all pro vote is once again from the community vote as well. So everybody has a say in those, but we'll be talking about those as well. And I think this time around it's going to be interesting because some of the top teams will, I think, in my opinion, have a few players that don't deserve to be in the top slots. But
Yep.
it's been a mixed LEC split. So how are you feeling about the LEC Summer Split in general? About the level of play and about maybe entertainment and stuff like this?
I think there was a bit more drama around it and around the level, individual level, and also the level of the teams, than it should be, and that it's fair to have like. I think we are not that bad. Looking forward to international tournaments.
Hmm.
You know, I think, for example, Mad Lions had a very shaky split with a bit of everything, like coming back from the MSI. Also, the fact that they had COVID problems, they were playing from their homes and etc. But I think they are now in a good shape for playoffs. They ended second seed, I think. Also,
Hmm.
looks like G2 is back,
Yep.
with the Bold Caps power spike.
It gives you a buff. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, and I don't know. Rogue is making his thing too, so I'm not too worried. To be honest, I think it was cool, and the bottom teams were. I think there was a pretty good battle for the sixth place, the last place of playoffs between
Hmm.
a new Excel. I think we will talk about that later. Axel that was looking much better with two new rookies in the roster.
Hmm.
Vitality with that Bill and roster, L9 roster, and also Astralis. So I think we are pretty good. We also have Misfits now in the top, which is surprising for
Hmm.
me, to have them solid top four during all the split.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. I'm not too worried. I enjoy it a lot, the regular season, to be fair.
Yeah, I will have to say that in the beginning I was a bit worried because we did see Mad Lions in the beginning struggling a lot. We did see G2 that wasn't playing up to par. And for me, especially with G2, I was like, okay, so they're going to rebuild their entire team with Nelson. Is this a smart thing to do during a summer split where you have just one split in order to achieve this? Generally, I think it would be a better idea to do it in the spring so that in summer you have everything in line. But it seems like you said, that they are back and that they are finding that stability in their play. So yeah, I think towards the end of the split, I was like, okay, I'm feeling much more confident in the
Yeah.
level of play, and obviously looking forward to playoffs as well. It's going to be exciting. But yeah, let's just go to the.
Also miss Fnatic in my short speech.
Oh
I
yes,
think it was
yes,
the only team, but
yeah.
Fnatic, good
Who,
reveal,
yeah, who,
surprising.
kind
That's
of the
it.
opposite of G2. They started
Yeah,
strong and then fell off, and
yeah, a bit,
yeah.
a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to perform in the playoffs because I really think that they are being exposed in the final weeks for the mistakes they made, and the teams learn to adapt to that aggression that Fnatic has. We saw it in the game. I think they played against Misfits where they just kept on chasing, and Misfits at one point just said, "Okay, well, sure, we'll just turn around and kill you now." So I
Yep.
think that is something they definitely need to work on. But in terms of performance overall in the regular split, I think they did much better than I expected.
Yeah, same,
I
same.
did not expect to be Whippo to be so good in the jungle. Obviously, there's always going to be a discussion about how difficult jungle is and how impactful the role is compared to its difficulty level. But I think as a team, this is much more of a team than we saw Fnatic in especially in spring, where it was people doing random things and not really playing as a
Yeah,
team together.
play,
So
play, players will be wild. Like a team
hell
like
yeah.
Fnatic is playing for a world spot. So
Yep, and
um,
they must be three best of fives if they want to make it. So
yeah,
it's
will be, and they have only one chance because they are on the downside
yeah,
bracket.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, if you're in the upper bracket, you only need to win one in order to get at least
yeah,
a seed, and in the lower bracket now Fnatic or Vitality they have to win three in order to make it. So it's gonna be pretty tough
yeah.
for them to do so. But yeah, we will see how
Let's
well they
see.
are able to adapt. So let's go over the roles one by one, as we have done in the past. We'll start with top, then jungle, mid, bot, support, and then we'll get to rookie of the split, coaching staff, and MVP of the split. Now, starting with the top lane, um, I think for me the most interesting part in this was that I was immediately able to um, kind of write off the two top laners of two top teams because Wunder and Armut had a very bad split, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So those two were immediately names that I dropped from even my shortlist. I'm not sure how you felt about their performances.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Armut has never been like super impressive to me.
Mm-hmm.
But looks like this split with the whole Mad Lions being a bit worse than we were expecting
Mm-hmm.
from coming from big champions in spring, decent run and MSI. I think I don't like his laning phase at all. I think it's the
No.
worst feature of our mood.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think he needs to work in his champion pool. Like he has a very short, like mm,
Very
useful champion pool. We can
very
say it
shallow
like that.
pool. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 comfort champs, and outside of that, his level is like worse. I think.
Yeah. So
There you have
Wukong,
the
Gnar,
Wukong, Nar, yeah, Jace maybe
Jace.
some games,
Mm-hmm.
and that's basically it. So yeah, I think he needs to be like more. I don't know, like be
He needs to.
safer in the facing line maybe. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if he's not safe enough. But he fell in random ganks. Also dies 1v1 like solo bolo.
Yeah.
And then I think his team fighting is pretty decent. At least from what we saw in the whole year, I think
Yeah.
it's the same Armut that in the rest of the year, like poor laning phase, good team fight. But I think now it's more like accentuated because Mad Lions is playing pretty bad, right, as a
Mm-hmm.
whole
Mm-hmm.
and individually too. So I think that's the main reason why our mod didn't shine as much as it did in spring.
I tend to agree with this. I think he had a very bad split as a top laner, and it's something he agrees with as well. He's literally said it in interviews like, "Yes, I know I'm playing terribly, but he's taking it easy because he was burned out at the start of the split, which is an acceptable
Fair,
and
yeah,
understandable thing to happen, right?" And I do think that if we see him in spring playoffs at MSI, he played well. You know, it's this guy can play top lane, but it's just that in this split, which we basing the awards on, he did not play well.
yeah,
I think he said in an interview with me that he trusts that he's gonna come back at when the playoffs come around. That he's gonna go full force and that he trusts himself to be ready then. So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, if we're making a short list, he's not on it for me. Same for Wunder. Wunder just had a bad
yeah. I
split,
agree.
bad split as well. Um, Other names I crossed off for me were Shigenda. SLT is also an option, I think.
Of
Uh,
course. Yeah.
Kreis I crossed off from the top lane, and then I think because White Knight was very good on the Lee Sin, and I think he definitely contributed very much to Astralis in their split this split. He
Yeah.
was a big carry for them, but beyond that, I don't think he did a whole lot. Now, obviously, if you are able to play Lee Sin and carry a lot with it, like by all means do it. But I also do think that for top laner of the split, you need to have a bit more variety, as you already kind of touched on with Armut. And Genox, I think, is also a very good laner, but I don't think he had the impact I think
Yeah, I agree.
he
I
needed to
agree.
have for contention. So my shortlist for like top 4, I have like a mini shortlist is Odo, Hirit, Adam, or Adam, as the French say,
Mm.
and actually Broken Blade, because I think Broken Blade played really, really, really good. It's just that his team wasn't very good. I don't think he's going to be my top 3, but I think he deserves at least an honorable mention.
I was thinking about it, and I think I will go with Broken Blade, Adam, Odoamne, like
Mm-hmm.
from third to first. Like
Okay.
looking at the for preparing the awards and that, top laner is not very impressive at the moment.
No,
Not
no,
not
I
at all.
very much agree.
Not at all. Like you have 7 top laners that were automatically out of the shortlist, so that's a bad a really bad thing. So
Yep.
yeah, I think I will go with that 3 top laners. Here it could be there, but I feel like Broken Blade was trying his really best to
Yeah.
try getting Schalke out of the
Mm-hmm.
bottom of the
Yeah.
bottom team.
And if you look at, obviously Shogunov, he only did manage to get 3 wins this split, which is
Yeah,
terrible. But all of them were
sad.
with Broken Blade in a carry position, and other times when they lost, it was still like, I don't think the guy ever hard lost a single lane. I think he won most of his lanes, and even in his losses, he had like very good things like KDA, which obviously only a facet, like one part of what weighs in into being a good top laner. But the guy was just insane. And I really hope for him that he is able to find a top team next split. When it comes to Herod, I think Herod had a very good start to the split, where him and Resorg were, I think, for 3 weeks were like the super hard carries on Misfits, and then Herod
Yeah.
did fall kind of off. Not that he became necessarily bad, but not the standout player he was in the first weeks. And I think in the first weeks also it was a lot because he got to play Gwen, and he was very good on the Gwen. So, but
Yeah.
also Gwen was very broken at the time. So I think that's also a consideration. But I very much agree with the sentiment that top lane pool isn't very great. If you look at past years where we had Wunder, Bwipo,
Alfari.
Alfari in there, yes, exactly. It was like, okay, damn, these are 3 titans. These are 3 world-class top laners in the shape they were in at the time. I don't really feel the same way at the moment. Adam, I think, had a very good split for a rookie.
Yep.
And but I also think that he wasn't like super standout for a rookie. It's very good, but if we look at overall top laner of the split, you have to just look at have to judge them all by the same metrics. And for me, the most solid top laner was Odo Amne. I think you also said him at 1, right? Where
Yep. I
yeah,
agree.
just yeah, solid all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, yeah, but also him, I wouldn't say at the moment that'd be like, okay, if we send him to Worlds, he will win his lane. It's not something I'm confident saying. I think he will just, maybe if Rogue plays it safe. I don't know, but I think he's good. He's the best for me at the moment. I think that,
Fully agree.
yeah, but I think maybe it's Rogue as a whole. I think who need to level up. So yeah, I guess those 4-ish are for me in contention. You said BB, Adam, and Odo
Yep.
Omne, right? Yeah. All right. Well, then we go to jungle, and for me, maybe it was even easier for me to make a top 3 here than for the top lane. But
It
also very
worked.
well. I think at least a top 2. Top 2 was super easy. for
Yeah.
me, and then
The third one is really fucking hard, in my
yes,
opinion.
because you have two, like the number one is just clearly number
Of
one for me.
course.
I think it's
Yeah.
inspired.
Yeah.
And then number two is Resorg. I think the guy with a very good split. And then number three, I don't know. I had to debate for a while on that because
Yeah. I mean, you can go with, I don't know. You can go with El Yoya, Markung, maybe Wipo, Yankos. There is a bunch of names there.
yep,
So I'm not too sure.
no. Um, but at least a few names were easy for me to cross off. Kirei,
Yeah.
it's just the yeah. I think undoubtedly the worst top laner in this split. Then Treat, I think also excluded. I think he was fine, but I don't think he was anything exceptional.
Yeah.
Um, Dan was also, I think, is also a possibility, but no. Zanzara was, yeah, also not self-made. I think also not really a candidate for me. Whippo, I'm not sure. I think, considering that this was his first split as a jungler, I think he did well. But if you look at the times he
I
got caught out by, yeah.
I think he did decent, but
Mm-hmm.
I think people were overhyping him more than they should. Like
Mm.
on the weeks that Fnatic was winning a lot and that, I felt like Wipo was the more weak piece on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
People were like
Yeah.
overhyping him a lot. So I think it was decent, but top five, I would say, something like that.
Yeah, maybe something like this. I think especially when Fnatic went on a win streak, you saw insane pop-off performances from Niski. Niski
Yeah,
was playing out of his mind in those weeks.
huge
Um,
step up from Spring.
yeah,
We will talk about that later, but
sure, yeah.
crazy.
And I think that in general, yeah. So that third spot, I don't know. I think I would maybe give it to Jankos overall. Because
I
if I
agree.
look from the start to end, I think he was maybe the most consistent one, and a pretty big factor that even when G2 was trying to find the new style, that he was the one consistently performing well. Because he had a top lane and a mid lane who were running it down in the first part of the split, who were playing absolutely terrible. And I think Jankos was a very big stable factor to kind of keep the top side somewhat alive for G2. So I think I would give it to him there.
Yeah, I agree. I will go with Jankos too in the
Yeah,
third
yeah.
spot.
What do you think about Elyoya's performance this split? Because he was rookie of the split last split, played phenomenally. At MSI, he played super well. What do you think about his performance overall?
Yeah, I think it's the same for like every single member of Mad Lions except for maybe Humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
They had a worse individual level. I think it's fair, normal, but yeah, I trust that they will be back in shape for playoffs. Looks like it. They had like really late games in the last week, like the game against G2, for example, the two first games of the last week of the Super Week
Mm-hmm.
were, I think, like world class, especially the G2 mat
Yep.
on Friday. So there is good things that they will be back on a good shape for playoffs. So I'm not
Yeah.
too worried.
Yeah. I'm also not too worried, but again, it's a regular split judgment, and I don't think
Yeah, of
Elyoya
course,
had
of
anything
course.
anything special
Yeah, I agree.
in the regular split. So okay, well we're flying through this at this rate. The mid lane, I think the mid lane is again kind of similar to top lane, where I could cross off a few top teams mid laners immediately, because for me Larsen is not on there, Caps is not on there, and a few other players that were hyped maybe as well. Leader, I crossed off his
No,
performance. Magic Felix, I think fine, but nothing standout for me. And Blue and Nuclear Int are also not there. But he made it to my shortlist. I'm not sure about finalizing my top three yet, but Nuke Duck made it to my shortlist because I think he had a very, very good split.
I think he had a good split, but how to say this? Like people is very surprised with his performance
Mm-hmm.
because of what they were expecting. I think their expectations were really, really, really low.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and now that he performed decent, like I think people is like overreacting a lot about his performance. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel he had a really decent split. Like it was better than I expected, and I think everyone expected. But I don't see him as a top three mid laner. Like I have this was actually really easy to me to make the top three.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
yeah. So the first names I did put down were Niski, Humanoid, and Viteo. Not necessarily in that order. We'll get to that, but I think because for me, I think I also need to. I also considered what he had to work with, and especially in the start of the split, with Dan and Danik, and especially Dan not doing much. I think then Nuke was already performing pretty well. And Kreis in those first weeks was also not very good. Patrick in those first weeks was also not very good. I think Marcoon and Edvian contributed a lot into the revival of Excel. But I think in those
yeah,
early weeks, I do think that Noob Dog was a big stable factor for them. You're probably right. The more I think about it, that it's also the difference between expectations that people had, which were super low. I did
yeah,
put Excel at the bottom of my like power rankings kind of thingy at the start of the split, which was obviously prior to the changes they made, but still, that was also in part because I didn't think that Nuke Duck would do anything significant, and he was. I think he did prove people wrong. That's to say the least. But
yeah.
so
100% agree.
Niski, Humanoid, and Veteo in your top three then, and in what order?
In that order, actually, I think Niski was the best mid laner of the split, followed by. I'm not sure here, actually. Like, I'm not really sure about Beteo and Humanite being second and third. I think it's kind of, it's kind of irrelevant, but I'm not too sure. Like, think Beteo had a big step up from the spring split where it was very clear that he was a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him like very nervous sometimes. He chokes sometimes due to this. But I think in summer he showed like a more mature player, like as he was more experienced that he is actually like only
Mm-hmm.
two splits in the LEC. And I think it's one of the main reasons, like working with Rathor in a very solid jungle mid duo. It's one of the main reasons why Misfits was up there, like for the whole split. But in the other hand, without Humanoid, I feel like Mad Lions won't be the second spot, right?
Yeah. No.
So
Absolutely.
I will go with I think I will go with Niski, Humanoid, BTO in that order.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think in the final 2 weeks when Fnatic was collapsing, Niski definitely fell along with him, and I think was it in that game versus Misfits I mentioned earlier that he played Akali and it like he was 4-1 or something, and then fed it all away and was like 4-4 just a few minutes later, and then all of Fnatic obviously threw that lead as they've done a
Yeah,
few
it was
times.
the Elder game, right?
I think
Or
so.
not?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think aside from that, the guy on things like Silas, he was nuts. It's actually insane. And he also think what I very much appreciated. He wasn't afraid to take some risks with his picks. Like he played Aurelia as well, which is not always necessarily going to be a thing where okay, as long as you play many champions, you're going to be best mid lane of the split. But he played them well, and he had a similar impact on his team no matter what champion he was playing. So for me, Niski overall, I think up until week 6, he was the probably the best mid laner. If I look at from week 1 to week 6, and after that maybe he fell off, but I don't think that any other mid laner really stepped up to take that spot confidently. As for Humanoid, we'll get to him in another segment, at least for me, when we discuss MVPs. But I think in raw performance, Humanoid in the early weeks was everything for Mad Lions.
Yeah,
Where
I agree.
when the team was running it down, he was the stable factor and not necessarily always being the one getting all the kills, but setting it up and making sure the team got those wins early on. He was the factor for me. He is always going to have these few games where he dies a lot, and I think the community uh, likes to focus on those. For example, he had a Twisted Fate game, I think, recently, where he went 2-9 or something like this.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
where and obviously, obviously that's a bad game. But I think people focus too much on those games and not the ones where he takes a lot of risks and sets a lot up for his team and knows exactly how to enable his fellow teammates. So I think he's had a very very good split, all things considered. And even though he also was one of the players on Red Lions who said like, yeah, I'm actually not playing League of Legends much. I talked to him and he said he was playing World of Warcraft mostly. So so
oh
yeah,
no,
he's going the Wunder route. So
yeah,
yeah. But and Vettel, I fully agree with your assessment of him that he early on was a super stable factor for Misfits and a big carry for them, and has shown a lot of growth. I'm so happy that he got this second split to work with exactly the same team members, because it's so important for a rookie to have that stability in order to grow. And you mentioned Resork, and I think Resork and him probably a very good power couple. Even though we've seen mid jungles who work better directly together, I think maybe Inspired and Larson, obviously, who work super well together as a mid jungle duo. I think for Viteo, yeah, I'm pretty impressed and happy for him that he got to work with the same squad, because we've clearly seen development. Remember in spring that he had like the opening weekend at Zoe, and then he fell off completely, and only in like week 7 and 8 did he start playing well again. Now I think um, he's maybe had a few bad games, but overall he's been very stable.
yep, 100%. I agree with you.
All right, bot lane then. Why don't you kick us
Ooh,
off on the bot lane? Because for me, it was
ooh.
again the top 2 that was pretty easy, but I'm not sure how you felt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I will go with. Actually, I think the top three is really easy
Mm.
here.
Okay, go ahead.
Like, yeah, I will go with Reckless upset Hansama. Like, pretty
From 3 to
easily.
1.
Pretty, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
in order.
Okay. Well, it's gonna be a
I
very
feel
short
like,
edition if we're gonna agree on most things.
yeah, I mean, it's really kind of one sided on everything
Yep.
because, a lot of individuals were not very impressive during the summer split. So I'm watching like the rest of bot laner, Jeskla, not there, Neon not there, of course. Really rough split. Patrick, I think it was worse than he used to be
Yep.
in last splits when he was basically alone playing in Excel. I think it was not the case this split, so
Nope.
pretty out too. I think Carsey didn't have the best regular season too. Kobe was pretty decent. I think the best blitzing he's back to
Yeah.
Europe by far. So I think he's like top 5
Yep.
probably.
I agree.
And Hansama is there. Jisoo, I think nothing very impressive, and Crownshot not too impressive too. So I
Yeah.
I can tell you like even the top 5. I think directly. I think I will go with Reckless, Upset, Hansama,
Mm.
Carsey, and Kobe. I think.
Yep. Yeah. I have the exact same list in that
Yeah, pretty
order.
easy, right? This
Yeah.
League
It's
of Legends thing.
because for me, I think the bot lane was very disappointing in general. This split where obviously they weren't set up to be like the hyper carries in the game as a result of how the game was playing out. I think they were more of like an afterthought, where in the early game you saw most teams focus more around the top side, and then later on when team fights started happening, then the kills started being donated to the bot side. Or as we've seen teams like Rogue do, is that they just rotate their players around the map so they can farm gold early on and get an item lead, and then when the team fights come around, they can start making kills. But in general, it's just not been a very good split for bot laners. I very much agree with basically everything you said, but I think specifying the top three, I have in 1, 2, 3, I have Hansama, Upset, and Reckless, similar to you. For
Yeah.
me, the Reckless in third feels right in terms of how overall performance. But I also think that for Reckless, it wasn't like a crazy split or something like this. It was sure he was there, and and he's third for me, but I don't know. I don't really feel like like he this wasn't a split where I thought like, ooh, that's Reckless. Look at him go. He had a few games where he popped off. Absolutely, he's always gonna have those games, especially on Tristana. He played super well, and I'm very glad also to see him play more Kalista, which was a big meme, obviously, that he didn't play the champion since 2017, but now he's playing it well, playing it super well. So he's obviously a
Pop
very
off. Yeah,
sorry.
popping off. Popping
Yeah,
off
yeah,
in Calista.
and I think he's a super good bot laner. But if I look at overall performance, especially early in the split, I'm like, yeah, okay, he was fine, but not the
I
world level
I ha-
powerhouse that I wanted to see.
I hate Reckless.
What? Why? Oh boy, that's
I don't
that.
like him. I don't
Uh,
like him. He plays when he plays good, when he's popping off, he plays perfect. I
yep.
hate him. Like I hate him. I don't like it. It's not fair, it's not fair when Reckless it's playing League of Legends in his, you know, I won't say peak level, but in his high level personally,
hmm
um it's absolutely disgusting. Like
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
disgusting.
The guy's insane.
I
Yeah.
remember a Jhin game. I remember some Tristana games. I remember the Kalista games. Like it's
Yep.
it's just disgusting. It's
Yeah.
just ridiculous, right? So
Yep. He's very, very good.
um,
He's very good at the champions. Yeah.
best in the West for me is still. And I feel like he was also taking into account the Mikik's performance during the split. That we will talk about that
hmm
next, but it was pretty bad compared to other splits. I feel like in the tough times of G2, he was the only player that was playing in a decent level or in a level that you would expect from a roster like G2, right? So
hmm
I feel like he was very good on these last good games that G2 had as a whole. But that he was also like the most decent player in the bad time. So that's why I'm putting him in my first place, mainly because I think he's very regular. He will not like just int you a game like
Oh, you put Reckless in
for
first. I thought you put Hansama in first.
yeah, yeah. I did
Oh.
reckless upset Hansama.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, then we have
Yeah,
Hansama and Reckless. I think,
that's that you we swapped them,
yeah,
right?
yeah, we swapped them. Yeah,
Right.
interesting that Upset then remains in second place for some reason. But,
Yeah, I mean his best split so far. I think like it
yep.
really he really needed a year like this, everyone was like this player is super good in solo queue,
Mm-hmm.
like he has a lot of potential, but he never made that boom, right? And I think he did it in Fnatic now this year in general, like
Mm-hmm.
also this split, but also last split. So I'm really happy for him. I think it's better for everyone that we have more strong ID carries in the more strong players in general in the region.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Upset did a really big step up, similar to I would say similar to Niski, but Niski was from spring to summer and Upset was from last year to this year. So really happy for him. And I think it's a solid top two or top three at least in every single, like tier list,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah. Well, I had interesting. So I agree with basically everything you said about Upset because the guy was solid, stable, always being there to get the kills and make sure that team fights they pick up they pick off some of the enemies. Right. I think he was super stable. But for me, actually, I had Hansama in first because I think the guy played very well and super aggressively as well, always dominating his lane. together with Trimby, who we'll also probably speak about next in the support segment. But I think Hansama, I think they said on broadcast maybe this was his best split ever, and I haven't been watching League of Legends for that long. I started watching 2 years ago, so I cannot account for his Misfits days. But since I started watching League of Legends and following it very closely, I've never seen Hansama play this well, and he plays so clean. I really think that he, to me, is really just also the most well-rounded bot laner in the LEC, who can play different things, who can I don't know, not necessarily read the opponent well, but he can just force the opponent to make mistakes and then punish them together with Trimby. I think that duo in general has been very good. So for me, it was Hansama is actually the best bot name. But interesting that we have those two swapped around, and Hansama and Reckless swapped around with Upset in the middle. That's so. How do you feel about Hansama then? About his performance?
Um, good, solid top three, of course. Like upset, I think the three names are like very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
The order is kind of relevant. They are super close, I feel like. But the fact that made me put Hansama in third spot was basically because I feel like he was, as you mentioned, very aggressive along with Trimmy, but that aggression was sometimes a problem, right?
Mm,
Like a bit coin flip sometimes, and the coin goes in the wrong side, and you end up like making yourself and your game way more complex that it should have been in first instance sometimes.
mm,
Probably they will end up winning because the raw style is pretty effective
yeah.
in best of ones, and also against bottom teams, etc. There is a really big individual skill cap level gap. So I think like the main thing is that the fact that sometimes they were way more aggressive that they should be. Like they were, I don't know, maybe too excited, like
Mm-hmm.
as if they were like the Jinx passive when you kill someone, that goes
Just keep running.
200. Yeah, you keep running forward and you don't care about basically nothing. So I think he that's like the main reason why he's not the first in my books, but definitely really good at AD carry. And in general, I feel like the top three in general will be competent against the Asian AD carries or whatever in a
Yeah.
in an international level. I think they are world class in general.
Yep. Yeah, I think the bot laners, this top three, I'd be very happy to send to the international stage because
100%.
yeah, they're super stable. All of them, they all have their redeeming factors, and they can all, I just hold their own, And you saw it when they played against each other. Um, they also weren't shy of going in, which you see sometimes at the international stage. That European teams maybe like, oh, they hold back a bit, and you see that aggression maybe being a bit different, and where LPL teams especially like to be very dominant in their lane. But I think when you see these teams playing against each other, even then they were just not afraid to go in and say, okay, you know what, fight me. Let's see how we're gonna play. And I think that's very promising because that's something they probably need to do on the international stage as well. So then we go to the support role, um, and we once again had I think 11 eligible picks because Danik obviously got subbed out in favor of Advian throughout the split. I checked, and Jesse's wasn't on the list of support picks, even though he played 3 weeks. I think he should be
Wow.
eligible, but maybe SK Gaming said like, you know what, don't put him on the list or whatever. Or maybe Riot
Yeah,
understood that he was probably not gonna win it anyway.
you know
Um,
you know what? That never happened. Like
yeah,
that
yeah.
never happened to us.
Maybe it's the best if we all just collectively forget about those first weeks for SK Gaming. But yeah, so we had on the list
Oh.
we had quite a few names. Um,
Yeah, but support is still sad to read, like
yep,
to analyze the
yep,
the level.
yep. Very much agree. I think supports did not have a
Similar
very.
to top lane, probably
Yep.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much agree. So for me, people easy to at least cross off in the beginning were Limit, Lilip,
Yeah,
Promiscu, Kaiser. I think for me, well, Danik crossed off. I think Advien was also crossed off. Even though we'll talk about him more when rookie comes up, because he was one of the eligible nominees there. I think Kaiser didn't have a good split.
I agree.
Um, for me, Vanner was good, so I did make him into like the shortlist, but I wouldn't say like this is like a top level support performance. Like a shortlist is in like names I could possibly put in the top three, but I didn't think for me like okay, this is a guy that we can send to Worlds in his shape at the moment. Even though on Rogue last year he was insane, right? And at Worlds as well, he played really really good. Even though Rogue got so horribly eliminated 1-5, I think overall in the group stage.
Yeah, last in the groups,
Yeah,
and
last in the group, but Vander was actually one of the best performing players there for me. But
I
I think,
think
yeah, I
my top
think
three will be surprising here. Pretty
okay,
sure.
go ahead.
From third to first, I will go with Lavrov in third place, Trimby, and Hailey Sang.
Okay, well then we only have Trimby and Hillsing switch because I also have Labrov there. Nope.
Nice.
Yeah,
I think he was really fucking underrated during the whole split.
it's incredible. Like the guy was such like the most consistent factor on Vitality for me.
I agree. I agree. Like with leader being a coin flipper for a lot of games, soulmate wasn't not at his peak. They had two top laners, so obviously the top lane was like the solution for everything. And I think Lavrov was like the most solid, without any kind of doubt, player of the Vitality guys. So I don't know why he didn't have like more recognition. I think he deserves it, and
Absolutely.
that's why made it into my top three as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that he was very, very good. I think he had the best split that we've seen from him so far. He played last summer split as well, and then the spring split, and now here. I think he played really, really good. His especially Alistar performances, his engages were super clean. He set up many fights very well for his team, and sometimes in Vitality, because they lacked communication as a team, you could see that they had just completely different ideas about what to
Yeah,
do sometimes. But he was always the one who was there in the team fights, in my opinion. I think he played a very solid split, and I very much agree as well that he was very much underrated and not highlighted as much as he deserved to be. Because for me, I don't know what else he could have done for this team. Like your support, you're not gonna be a hyper carry with kills, but he was always there to set things up, and I think that it's all you need from a good support. So maybe if Vitality as a whole did better, that maybe people would have focused more on him. But he was a super solid player. So I'm very happy for him as well, because I think that even in previous splits you could see the potential, but now he really, I think, dared to step out of his comfort zone and say like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna set up this engage, and I'll trust that my teammates will follow up, which sometimes didn't happen. But yeah, very much agree. Okay, so I have Hillsang in second. You have him in first, and I have Trimby first, and you have him in second. So Hillsang had probably the fewest amount of deaths he's ever had in a split. this split, he just didn't die as much. So
yeah, that's
yeah,
true. Like it's not highly sung; it's like another player, and he
yeah,
plays under the highly sung tag. So I don't know. I don't know. Really surprising. Like the fact that he wasn't dying 14 times per
yes,
game.
exactly.
And I think he was like really solid, probably his most solid split in terms of performance and not randomly dying. And as a support, if you die a few times in the beginning of the game, then you are turbo useless and you
Mm-hmm.
will just keep dying. And I think that's something that almost never happened this split. So recognition for that to Hilly-san. I think he found a new play style, completely different from what we saw and from what we recognize
Mm-hmm.
Hilly-san for. Like I wouldn't say coin flipping, but taking risky decisions like perma, like
Yeah.
every time. So yeah, pretty interesting split from Hilly.
Yeah. I think a big factor for Hillesang to be able to perform so well is Upset, who apparently, if you see interviews with Fnatic, just in general, Yamato, I think he said like he needs to break up Hillesang and Upset sometimes because they just all they do is talk about the game together, which shows because they have very good synergy in the bot lane. I think what many people hyped up the Whippo Hillesang roaming duo is also maybe not as great as I had hoped it would be, but it's still a very solid factor, and it's definitely you could see it help Hillesang in his performance as well, and he lived up to what he needed to do because together with Whippo, he was around the map more, and you could see that he was engaging, as you said, in maybe risky plays, but this time there was actually something to follow him up, and I think that for Hillesang it's kind of like all the puzzle pieces aligned for him in this split in terms of what he needs in order to still play as riskfully, but not die as much as a result, and actually help his team with instead of trading a kill, he just got a kill for them basically with the setup. So I think he played very well. I'm not sure if for Hillesang, because I wonder because sometimes when I see him play in games where he dies a lot, it almost feels like that is what he needs in order to start hyper carrying or something like this. And maybe that's not something I've seen. So that's maybe why I put him. I don't think I've seen Hillesang absolutely go berserk as a support for me, which I have seen him do in the past. So that's maybe why I put him in second place. But overall, I think for me he is clear top three, clear top two. I would say very good support, and I think maybe for the public this split he got more appreciation because previously when we had Hillesang discussions, people would say like, "Oh no, he's shit. He just dies all the time." But maybe this split, people see like, "No, no, no. He's really good, and he sees
He
the right.
didn't die.
Yeah, he sees the right opportunities. It's just that it's not always that he has the follow up to deal with." So
Yeah.
yeah, Hillesang, and then Trimby, who is my number one, and your number two. First of all, just a great improvement from Spring. He's much less nervous. Does the engage as well, and a very solid duo with Hansama. But what are your thoughts on Trimby?
Yeah, basically the same. I think both like Hilly-san first or Trimby first are very fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a big step up on him from spring. Where I didn't found nothing really special on him, I would say. He was a rookie, etc., etc. But rookie of the split was turbo one-sided last split,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. And I think that's all maybe some of the one of the reasons why he didn't shine too much in the eyes of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Eyes were on another rookies, eyes were on another supports. He was like
He
he
flew under
passes
the
the
radar a bit, yeah.
yeah under the radar
Mm-hmm.
exactly. But I think like he made a really big step up in his level of play, and also in terms of he plays well on stage, which is
Yep.
not 100% something that you have secured when you have a player that it's being only two splits in a top tier team, which adds a lot more pressure, similar to the case of Adam in
Yeah.
Fnatic.
Mm-hmm.
So really impressive with Trimby, and I think he didn't reach his ceiling yet. He has more to offer, I feel like.
Yep.
So could be like one of the best in Europe, if it's not yet one of the best,
Yeah,
and world class material in a few splits. I feel like.
yeah, I definitely agree. I think that I don't know if to say if or when Rogue goes to Worlds, because I think it's pretty. It would be crazy if Rogue doesn't go to Worlds, but for me, I think there Trimby is gonna have to learn a lot still, because I think on European level he improved a lot, but I think for international and that world class performance, um, he really needs that world experience, which he will probably get. So that's very good for him. But I do think that, as you say, this guy can grow even further. I think he's like 19 or something like this, or 20, and
I
he's
think 20, maybe. I think 20.
yeah. So
Not
he's
sure, but
so he's very young, compared to Mickey, who's 23 or 24 or something like this. So it's he has a lot to grow still, and already he's at a very good level. So that's very exciting. As for this split in general, I just was very impressed by Rogue's bot lane, and he was a big factor. I also think that what I really liked him do, maybe I'm not really exactly sure, but if it's true, but it felt like he was roaming more and trying to play around the map more than he was last split. So it felt like I saw him in more places than I did last spring split, which is also nice to see, because that means he's comfortable just calling shots and helping out his teammates around the map. So yeah, pretty solid performance from Trimby again overall. Now we get to the special awards, and these are the awards that we directly get to vote on as part of the expert panel. It's Rookie of the Split, Coaching Staff, and MVP of the Split. So we'll start with Rookie of the Split. I think there were only 6 nominees.
really excited on this one, if you ask me.
Yeah, for me probably as well. We'll so far we've been pretty aligned, so it's we're gonna see. But the eligible rookies, just to kick it off, were Adam, Advian, Lilip, Marcoon, Nuclear Int, and SLT. So those 6, I do believe, were the only 6 nominees that we could choose from, similar to last summer split, where there were only a handful of rookie of the split who we could choose from. So I don't know. I'm not sure how much value we should add to this when there's 6 nominees, and a few of those were pretty easy for me to not include in the list. But that said, there were a few rookies who really stepped up. So I guess for me, the first ones I didn't include on the list were SLT, Lilip, and Nuclear Int. So I don't know how you felt about the creating a top 3, or excluding a few from those 6.
I think for Rookie of the Split, like for me, only consider one name. Like I didn't even consider the rest of the names. I think it's Adam. Like
Okay.
way, way easily. Like I think he had a lot of pressure on him, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the expectations, the French fan base and everything, they were
Mm-hmm.
overhyping him a lot. A lot of people overhyping him. So I feel like he had a lot of pressure. Like if he performed not poorly, but not as good as he did, I think for a rookie, um, he will be very, very hated. Also because
Mm-hmm.
we published the numbers of the operation, and it was a really expensive operation for Fnatic for a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So everything around him and around him going into the LEC had to be really, really, really something that was pressuring him a lot. Like
Okay. Mm-hmm.
also, apart from that, you have like the challenge of being in a team like Fnatic that comes from a very bad split with a very, very risky roster too. That was, like a coin flip roster. It could be very well
Mm-hmm.
or very bad. And fortunately, I think Adam was also one of the factors why Fnatic had a really more than decent playoffs regular season in summer compared to spring, and also with the changes. So I think Adam was pretty good. I feel like he could be even better in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, he's the one that made more solo kills in
Yeah,
the
I think
summer
he had like
split.
14 or something like this, and then the next
15, I think it was 15
yeah, and then the
actually,
next
but
one had
something like
like
that.
9 or 8, so he was
Yeah, like
far
big
ahead.
gap on the yeah.
Yeah.
So things like that tells you that the guy is very good in a mechanic way
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the level of play.
Yep.
And I feel like he's also a very team player,
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, and fits very well with Fnatic. So really happy with the Adam performance. And for me, it's a clear rookie of the split.
Okay. So French fans don't lynch me, but I have Adam in second place, and Bloop also do not get angry at me. But
Oh,
I'm gonna contextualize things. Okay, I'm gonna make my case.
FF.
I'm gonna I'm gonna make my case because for me, yes, Adam had a good split, right? Undeniable, and for a rookie, he was very good. But I also think you need to look at a big picture that for Adam, he did receive quite a lot of attention as well from Whippo, who knew exactly when to help him out in the lane. I also think that he received a lot of coaching from Whippo, and I think for Adam, he was a super stable factor. And for me, this guy could grow out into becoming one of the best top laners in the LEC as a whole. But for me, if I look at the bigger picture, in terms of also impact they had on the team, I think that Adam was solid, and at times he carried for Fnatic, but I wouldn't say that he was a defining factor for Fnatic. Whereas Marcoon, for me, when he came in to the split, Excel's whole identity changed because of this guy. And Excel as a whole started to find success with the playstyle that this guy was bringing. And they've said it as well that when he was brought in, he just said, no, we're just going to play this way now. I'm just going to play my thing. And you guys just need to follow. And for a rookie to take a team on his back like this, start playing so proactively, and also just be very good. I think it was a very close call for me. So again, I very much can see the Adam angle, and I wouldn't blame anybody for putting him first in Rookie of the Split. But similar to how MVP for me is not necessarily just about individual lane performance, stuff like this, but also about the impact they had on the team. For me, Marcoon just stood out a bit more because he did so much for Excel that I think he, I don't know. I think it just edges it out for me by a little bit. But I think if we look at overall potential, I think Adam has a higher ceiling than Marcoon from what we've seen. I just think that for me in this split, Marcoon did more for Excel than Adam did for Fnatic, and that is how I looked at this award. So now you can flame me, Bloop. It's fine. You can tell me
No, no,
what.
no. It's fair. It's fair. It's fair. It's
Okay.
fair. I think it's fair. But I went for Adam because he was also like the whole split, more
Yeah.
games,
Mm-hmm.
and
I think
also
I think you make a very good point in terms of the pressure that Adam was feeling, because that is something
yeah,
that many people
yeah. The
may,
pressure
may
is
may
like
not realize, because the money, the team, the community behind him, everybody was like, okay, this guy is our pride, this guy needs to perform. So yeah, I think it may be similar into like how you see Jose Deodo on FlyQuest in the LCS as the first LLA player to go to the LCS, or Armut as a TCL player coming into the LEC. They have a lot of pressure from a community behind them that wants them to succeed, which is good, because if they perform well, then they will get a lot of support and they will feel a lot of warmth from the community. But if you don't perform well, you don't necessarily even have to get flamed by the community, but you feel like you're letting so many people down that it really can affect your performance. So I think you make a very good point there. And as you said, there's also a lot of money involved with Adam. So
yep.
yeah.
So that's it. I think both are fair, but I wanted to also expose like the pressure factor
It's a very
in
good point.
Adam.
Yeah. So did you have a number three for rookie of the split between Lilip, SLT, Nuclear Int, and NVN?
I will go with Nuclear Int, I think.
Yeah, for me it was a toss up between him and Edvian. I guess I think Nuclear Int performed well in spite of his team. He had not much to work with, and he had a few pop up games. I think Edvian in the beginning was very good. Dropped off a bit afterwards, but yeah, as I said, I think for me the top two was very clear. And I think if Adam and Marcoon came into the spring split, then probably Oyoya would still have won, but at least it would be more competitive than
Yeah.
than it was this time around. All right, so we go to coaching staff of the split. Um, it's always hard to judge because we don't fully understand what goes on behind the scenes, right? But who do you have? Who do you have there?
For coaching stuff, this is really hard always. Like it's really hard for me to judge
Yeah,
the job of a coaching staff. But I think I will go with probably the fanatic stuff like Yamato Ganon, Toki, and etc. Because
really.
because they may work a really hard roster to manage. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
with a role swapper, with a rookie in the top,
Okay.
Niski that also made a huge difference compared to Spring. So I think I will go with Fnatic.
Interesting. They're not in my top three. Fnatic because I
You did
think
the top three. I only pick up once or
you
one.
you need to submit a top three, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will figure out with
yeah,
my team.
it's
I
fine.
don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, Fnatic didn't make it for me, and I think that's mostly because while the team did well in most of the weeks, I think we saw not much progress from the team throughout the split. I think they started off on a high and kept it high for long and then fell off towards the end. So that for me is a combination between maybe they had everything in place from the start, which is good, and that's obviously they needed to work towards with a roster adjustment and something they had to do in the off season. But if I look at regular split growth, I don't think I saw that much from the team in general. So for me, my number one is actually Misfits because the team managed to get to a shared second spot in the split and performed super well overall, even when the pressure was on and people started expecting, okay, but at some point Misfits probably should fall off. Misfits didn't fall off. So for me, that was very good. And also from what I've heard, like the team in general, just they created a good atmosphere for the players. They were always discussing things with each other. So my number one, two, and three is Misfits in first because of how they managed to get this team to a top contending team. Second is Rogue, I guess, because Rogue ended first, so good for
Yeah.
them. And third is actually I think Mad Lions because they were facing a lot of difficulty, they were facing a lot of trouble, and still they also end in a shared second spot with a good record. And what they did in order to do that is like they scrimmed one day less per week in order to give their players rest. They adapted a lot throughout the situations, and yeah, they may not have been the Mad Lions we hope to see this split, but in the end they got the result in. And their players are all still functioning human beings instead of burnt out wrecks and messes emotionally. So I think they did a pretty good job with that as well. But yeah, I don't know. There wasn't really a standout, like a big standout for me this split. Where I don't know. Maybe in previous splits you could say that I don't know, Mad Lions or Rogue staff did a lot to help the team. But yeah. Anyway, now we get to the most important one. It is the MVP of the split. And oh, hang on, 2 seconds. Okay, my OBS is acting up. Okay, we can continue. So MVP of the split, most important one. And obviously all the players that played in the split are eligible for this nomination. I'm not sure how you narrowed down your list, in what way you decided to do this, but for me, I think the number one was very clear. Number two was very clear as well. And then there were maybe a few cases for that you could consider. But can you tell me maybe a bit about the shortlist for your MVP list, like which players you considered?
For the MVP, I will go with my usual criteria, which
Mm-hmm.
is like a stick to the definition, like most valuable player,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I go with from first to third. Inspired in my is my top one of the split. I think this is a split that he will manage to make it to the top one.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's humanoid, and then it's Razork in terms of you know the way they have on their own teams, like
Yep.
the importance that they have in the teams. I feel like Razor was not that alone. In his team, he was
Mm-hmm.
like he had like his teammates with a decent individual level around. But in the case of Mad Lions, they had a lot of difficulties as I mentioned before, they won't be seed two without humanoid, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's like the main reason why he made it into my second spot. And Inspired, I think doesn't need like further explanation, right?
No,
So
the guy was yeah. So I have Restock in second, Humanoid in third. So again, very close in terms of what we expected or what we thought about their performances. But yeah, I mean, inspired. Like the guy was just insane. Like he was everywhere he needed to be. When a curveball was thrown at him, he adapted. I think I've seen one, maybe two games where I was like, eh. I think in the final week he had a game where he went 0 and 7-9 or something like this on the Jinjiao, I think, which was like a troll game or something like this where he didn't play well. But other than that, the guy has been playing out of his mind. Um, just yeah, I don't see how anybody vote uh, could not vote for Inspired, realistically speaking, because of the impact he had on the team, the level of play, the consistency, played different champions. He was everything for Rogue. He was everything they needed him to be and more, I would say. Super, super impressive split from him. Now, I had Resork in second instead of Humanoid because I think for me, I agree with your sentiment that Resork had help from other players throughout the split as well who stepped up, but it was different players. So at the start of the split, it was a lot of Hirit and maybe Veteo, whereas that shifted a bit towards the end, where Hirit wasn't as important of a factor, and uh, you saw Resork as well getting more help from other players like Vander and Kobe. I think in week 6 especially and week 7 and 8, it was those two who stepped up more for Misfits to help Resork. But the reason I put Resork second is because the early game was always his. Like any time like he played, except obviously you're gonna have one or two games that didn't go so well. But this guy was such a solid factor for Misfits in the early game. They could always rely on him. They could always rely on him to help the lanes. They could always rely on him to help set up objectives, get these objectives as well. It was just so incredibly consistent. I'm very happy because I remember spring 2020 when he won Rookie of the Split. He got a lot of hype, and people were very excited about him, and he was a very explosive player as well. And then in summer 2020, he didn't play so well. In spring this year, he also wasn't super good, and now he's very good again. And not necessarily in the explosive sense, but we can also see that this guy can play a controlled game and can play much more reserved and much more, yeah, just overall keep a level head and understand the game better than his opponents. So for me, that was why I put him in second, because throughout the entire split, the early games were his. And then Humanoid, you mentioned it like before when we talked about him. Mad Lions would not have been where they are now in the standings if Humanoid
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
there. Like
basically.
the first weeks, he was everything for this team. Um, yeah, I hope that he gets recognition for his performances split, because, as I said before, he had some games where he died a lot, which he always is gonna have. But for me, the way he helped his team through the difficult phase, just in terms of play, was outstanding, and I think that he deserves a lot of praise for what he did. And interestingly, because I think we both didn't put him in first place for mid laner of the split, but that just goes to show that MVP means more than just being the best in your lane. It means what you do for your team and how you contribute holistically to the performance, and not just okay, can you 1v1 the other mid laners in your lane. So I hope that others see his performance as well. And yeah, who would be other candidates if you look outside this top three for you? Because I saw some people mention Upset. I saw other people mention Niski. I think who else was there for some people?
Niski and
I think Niski and Upset were the other names I've
yeah,
seen from other
yeah,
people.
yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, Niski was very good, but I think that's more of the case where you see like, okay, he is the best mid laner, but not necessarily an MVP, because I think it was more Fnatic's performance as a whole that got them far, and it's the same with Upset, kind of, where he was super consistent, kind of in a similar way that Rezorg was, but I think maybe it's also a bit because the AD carry role didn't have as much impact as it had in the past, where Upset could 1v9 or something like this. But for me, I think I don't know, he was good, but for me not an MVP if I look at the overall contribution to the team.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wait, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hello.
I think my headphones run out of battery.
Can
Okay, can you repeat like the last phrase?
you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, so that overall, I don't think that Upset. He was consistent, but not MVP, because he didn't um, do more for the team in order to carry them very far. He was super
yeah,
consistent, but also because maybe the AD carry role wasn't in a position where you could 1v9. I think Upset didn't have that contribution for me.
yeah. I agree. And like in a team full of good players, it's hard to judge like a single MVP. I think in the Rogue case was very clear because Inspired was kind of making the Rogue's way to to the path of winning, like making the whole early game or the pressure he had to do. He was always every part of the map when he needed to. It's insane, and I feel like in in the case of Rogue, like for example, Larson wasn't great this split. For example,
No,
the
he had a
bundling
very
was
bad
good,
split, especially in the beginning. Yeah.
but it's something that gives more. I think it's more valuable to give Inspired the MVP because his mid wasn't too great, right? And in League
Yep.
of Legends, everyone knows that the mid jungle synergy is very very important,
Yep.
and you had to kind of like carry your mid jungle
Mm-hmm.
duo yourself. So I think that's really really good, and Inspired is no doubt that the guy is a world class player, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely shows that he studies a lot of the Eastern junglers, so like LPL and LCK junglers. He just studies their pathing and studies how they affect the game. I think that definitely shows. Not that I'm gonna claim that I know exactly how those players play the game, but you can see that he just has access to a lot of information in order to adapt to what the opponent is doing, and in that sense, you can see him switching things up. So I guess that is the roundup for our LEC award for this summer split. Is there anything else you would like to say, maybe about the players, about performance, about something else? Do you want to give a shout out to, I don't know, your parents or anything like
No,
this?
nothing else. I think we are covered. Shout out to you for inviting me another split,
No, thank you for
and
coming, man. Yeah, I
it was
always
it was fun.
Yes, always enjoyable. So that's it for our LEC Awards talk show, I guess, mini podcast. Our bi yearly podcast that comes out where we talk about LEC awards. So let me know in the comments below and let us know what you think about our choices. And if you like the content on this channel, as you can see, I release interviews, I do my recaps and my previews of LEC games as well. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you want to stay up to date with that. Bloop, thank you so much. Where can people find your work if they wanna see more of your work? I highly doubt that anybody watching this doesn't know who you are, but just in case.
You can follow me, of course, my work in Esports, and for my personal updates, twitter.com/blobgg. You can find me there, and that's it. That's my only promo I'm going to
Yeah.
do.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you all. I guess we will see you all next spring split for another one of these, but maybe before that, Bloop and I will see each other again. We'll see about that. No promises yet, but enjoy your day and enjoy everything.